on a perfect stretch of French beaches. Kai Otton is going to take on John John Florence, who won this event last year. John with some mind-blowing performances throughout the early rounds and in the final against Jadson Andre last season. Kai Otton, he's coming off the back of a glory run on the championship tour. 3 quarterfinals in a row. Well, let's see if he can keep the magic rolling as he takes the first wave in this heat.
Sharp surfing always from Kai Otton. Never lacks any speed, keeps up a lot of flow. Exciting backhand surfer too, but you can see that wave on the high tide losing its gusto on that sandbar. And John John, you know he's looking for something crazy to do. There's that patent noodly whip that he just loves to rip into. Such a lanky surfer, but somehow John John uses that to his advantage. He has a ton of leverage. Over 6 feet tall, so a pretty nice carve there, but just that one major maneuver. So that tide is starting to fill in here, Ronnie. There's this big old carve, so unique. I mean, there is not a maneuver anywhere near on tour that resembles that. He just owns that carve. Nice little snap there. One more look from the water here. Watch as he leans back on that back foot, and then he extends it. That's that extra little whip that makes that carve such a signature turn for John John.
I love that move. We saw a little bit of it in the first round. But here we go. We're back to live action now. And Kai Otton just gets a little hung up on that first turn. He knows that he kicks out. Waiting on scores to trickle through from the opening exchange that would have seen that result coming his way. But Micro's the master at pouncing on someone's mistakes, and John just got a little bit too selective.
Yeah, he dropped anchor there and waited a long time, but he was rusty in that event. You know, he's been out for a couple of events nurturing that injury. You know, John John, throughout his career, that's plagued him. Going for big airs, landing in the flats. He's a lanky fella. You know, he's suffered a couple of big injuries.
Well, there is 25.5 minutes to go. John gets a 5.83 on his first wave. Kai Otton notches a 7. So advantage Otton on the opening exchange, but Florence having a look at this one, using priority. Again, builds that speed up and goes to the rail. Gets a bit of tail release, and the crowd liked it. And really just pacing himself as he moves down the line. Looking to sink his teeth into the most critical part of this ride, but it just gets a little lumpy and ugly on the inside when he kicks out. But you can hear the appreciation from the crowd. They love him. After his win last year.
Yeah, major star power for sure. Yeah.
Throughout the semis and quarters, he laid down some of the biggest turns we've seen all year.
He really did. And Adriano de Souza just went in there and did what he does, was super consistent, and just nabbed it away from John John in the final, barely. But he was definitely stealing the show with highlights.
Mick, he's one of the guys. He deserves everything, you know, and he works so hard, and he put in the show, you know, for everyone to see that, you know. And all the guys is kind of like, oh, I don't want to show my things, you know, and no one see what they're doing. So Mickey is such a professional athlete, and I'm one of the guys behind him, like underneath, or just watching like your hero, you know, doing crazy. And I'm really happy to win Thomas, because I grew up with Thomas. I know his potential, his surfing, and he's such an animal in all kind of conditions, but specifically this one, he's an animal out there. So I knew I need to do everything I can, and so I'm
Cheers, Rosie. Just over 20 minutes remaining, and Kai Otton, he's put a 6.23 on the board. It was enough to get him ahead of John John Florence. John, he needs a 6.34 now to get himself back in front. But de Souza, I think the importance of that result, that heat, cannot be downplayed. He already has 3/13. Had he lost out there, it would have dragged him way back. His point score tally would have really suffered.
John John also has a great knack for, you know, showing up in those kind of waves.
He sure does. Back to live action now. Kai Otton looking to drop a 6.23 and increase his lead over John Florence here. He hasn't really been able to link a wave right through to the inside just yet, despite the fact he's been able to notch a couple of decent numbers. This one's starting to flatten out a little bit. Kai keeping that flow going. And it looks like that little connection to the inside is drying up as John John Florence lands a stylish air reverse on the outside and loves the feel of it. He is just loading up with so much speed before unleashing these big turns, Ross.
And that's why we love watching John John surf. You know, I was just saying how this wave doesn't really produce those ramps. You know, John John's looking for something crazy to do, but he found it anyway, and that's why he's so much fun to watch in a contest. He never tones it back. He doesn't surf conservative. He does not surf for numbers. Watch this right here, opening snap right there, showing a lot of zip. And then this wave really extended in front of him. So I like the fact that he went for that big old tail waft, because that wave was pretty funky. It extended in front of him, but it was high tide as well. So it was a really tough wave to surf. And he absolutely maxed it out. I mean, this is not a section that you would think, let me go for a little air reverse. And he's such a noodly freak. The fact that he was able to reconnect with his board, even though his front foot was like a foot off the deck.
Full-blown rubber band, man. He just planted that thing. He did get disconnected from his board for a moment, but rode out in the end, and it's just a level of excitement there in that ride that I think is going to nab the judge's attention. Here's a replay of Otton's last wave. He also tweaked the tail out a little bit on that first turn.
Pretty solid second snap too, but a little on the slow side. He had to kind of wait for his fins to re-engage before he slowly got back connected to this wave. So I don't think this score is going to really help him. In fact, Kai looking to get rid of a 6.23. I'm not sure he's done that. That was a good 80 yards of paddling at full steam. That'll take the wind out of you.
Well, they're those little scenarios that a competitor like Kai Otton is able to capitalize on. Definitely gives him a bit of a mental confidence boost, and he's now going to swing into a good-looking wave, drives off the bottom, gets vertical on the first turn, almost gets caught behind, but recovers well. But he did get a little out of sync with that ride, so not able to capitalise. And well, he's got his own kind of entertainment too, Kai.
That's amazing.
And the crowd is eating it up. Let's have a look at it. You can just see he got a little caught up on that first turn, Ross.
Yeah, the first turn, you know, nice and vertical, and then really got hung up on the second one. And then that backwash kind of made his back foot slip off. Somehow kind of reconnected on his butt. There he is, mimicking the goat boat. That was amazing.
Oh, that is special. That's one of the highlights of the year for me. Look at the face.
They should give that a pretty solid score.
That was gold. He doesn't go surfing for those small requirements that he needs. He's chasing something better than 6.9 at this point, but you know he's thinking excellent, and he lays into a clean track to get started. Again, just puts his board on rail, but it's a transition move to get to the steeper part of the wave. Hits a couple of lumps there. He can still convert this into a big score, but doesn't have a ramp to play with. He kicks out, 12 minutes to go, and that won't go into his top two.
It's just slightly hung up on that.
And he didn't miss the final series of an event. A disappointing result for John John at the Pipe Masters. It was a quarter-final, but you just expect him to be in that last heat there.
Sweeping cutback and another one to back it up, and this is where that wave got really slopey. You can see how the face of that wave was not steep, and that's not what these surfers want. They want a really steep wall so they can get all the speed they can handle. Right at the top of the wave, you know, it hit that bank nicely, so that first turn was nice, sweeping cutback, but watch how flat this wave gets with that backwash right there, and it didn't really give him that reverb he needed to get back into the wall.
He got a 4.57, so not enough to improve his lead over Kai Otton. Otts is still looking for an 8.74. It's a good time of year, Pete. We ran heats until well after 7 p.m. last night, as we see Kai Otton up once again, chasing an 8.74, and he's frustrated with himself because he had priority then, and again blows an opportunity to put a big number on the board. Well, here's John John Florence. Let's see what he can do. Jumps up into the lip, throws a reverse attempt but doesn't stick it. So again, the boys will paddle hard to the takeoff zone.
So slight open door there, but John John likes this little insider.
Let's see what he can do. He's really throwing everything at it out there at the moment. Drifts the fins, but again gets hung up and can't ride out of that maneuver. Here goes Kai. He's using priority for this wave. It's stretching out in front of him, so he's going to kick out. Really is a fantastic heat. You've got two very, very different styles. But it's a big clash between these two competitors as we see Kai drop into the bottom. Nice big first turn option, Ross.
Wow, huge opening snap. slid the tail maybe just a little more than he anticipated on that second maneuver, but look at that wave. That was a gem. And Kai just trying to finish this thing off, looking for that inside, but with that high tide, that's really going to ice these waves out. And Kai almost connecting with that shore break. That's nothing to mess with there. You can get hammered on that inside bowl. But a good start there for Kai. A couple of major maneuvers. That's definitely going to better his situation. There's that whippy carve from John John. Nice set here. 2 steep walls. That's what we want to see. And trying to connect with that big old tail waft, and somehow there's the magic, that X factor that John John has over Kai Otton. Saw him stick his tongue out there. He knows that that was a little cheeky there. Maybe because this high tide action here throughout this wave, it's a little flatter than normal. I think you called it, Ronnie. He likes that steep section, so it's hindering his performance just a little bit.
Well, some decent numbers coming in for John Florence, a 7.5. A solid number about to drop for Kai Otton too, a 7.4. So Kai gets his best wave, but the situation remains the same with John pushing the requirement. Keeps an eye on for big video parts. He's dropped some amazing clips in recent times. Let's see if we can drop one in this heat as Kai Otton takes off. He's used priority for this wave, and he really needs to apply some pressure to John John. There's a nice big backhand turn. This wave a little bit steeper. It gave him a few more options, but starting to flatten out now. Let's see if he can get an exciting finish on the shore break. The wave's fading away. Did he do enough? He needs an 8.93. It's slabbing reef breaks, and also just a tenacious competitor all round.
Yeah, you called it total polar opposite surfers with their trajectories, with their career, avoiding that 25th. It's so crucial for staying in that top 22.
Well, get your camera ready, because here is John John Florence on a victory lap now. He's moving on through to round 4, and he is feeling free and throws the fins out, bringing this one through to the inside. And the crowd on the beach, they love watching him win last year as Kai styles his way into the shore.
Just he's going for the Duke Kahanamoku parallel stance. He's really ticking all the boxes.
Man, if this was an expression session, Kai would definitely win most entertaining surfer. Unfortunately, it's not, and he's out of the contest.